The 417 Gamers is a group of board, tabletop, and card gamers in the 417 area code. This is the podcast. Welcome to the 417 Gamer Podcast, episode 31, the one with 2025 resolutions. Ben G from the 417 Gamer Group joins us like he does every year. In the 4, we look at 4 games we've been playing recently: Botanik, Jinxo, Ginkopolis, and Chicken. And the one topic of the show, we talk about New Year's resolutions. We look back at how we did at the 2024 New Year's resolutions and make our new 2025 resolutions going forward. And in the 7, we talk about the best 7 games from 2024 that we've played thus far. Without further ado, the 417 Gamer Podcast. Welcome to the 417 Gamer Podcast. My name's Rick.
And I'm Andrea.
And we're joined by our annual guest,
Ben.
Hey, Ben. He comes on. We talk about the games we all played.
It's my favorite time of year.
Right?
Except this time we're not recording it on the New Year's Day specifically.
No. Schedules have been kind of wonky and weird. Some of it happy, but we got back from our cruise. We got married since the last podcast, so we had you on.
It's exciting.
Yes. But in the 4, we talk about 4 games that we've been enjoying in pretty recently. This game apparently is your fault by way of Seth at Metagames.
Yes.
We played Botanik, and we played a lot of it on the cruise.
We did. It was great.
Yeah, Botanik is a great game.
Yup.
So glad Seth introduced that one to me. It's a fantastic 2-player game.
Mm-hmm. We were getting low on 2-player games, and so especially to have this on the cruise was very nice that we could just pop it out even in our stateroom, and it doesn't take that long. It's maybe 20 minutes ish, so we could squeeze in a few games between activities, and we really enjoyed the different paths it can do.
Yeah, it's published by Space Cowboys. It's designed by Frank Critton, Gregory Largeny, and Sebastian Ponchon. It is a drafting tile collection game for 2 players with a theme of mad scientists that are using hydroponics. You're connecting pipes, and you want to get flowers in the different regions, and there's like 5 different colors. At the end of the game, you get points for adjacent tiles of the same color, and then flowers that you have. And flowers count. The big thing is at the end, as long as if the big vegetable or big flower tiles, as long as they're connected to their same color, they will count for the flowers that are attached.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Most biggest score wins, and Andrea and I played the crap out of it on the cruise.
It's got a definite steampunky vibe to it. Quick and easy. Ours we got as a gift from Brian and Catherine, and you have to have a dice bag to put all your tiles in to randomly draw. I guess you could shuffle them and put them face down, but it's easier to just have a draw bag. Yeah. And she's very big into knitting, and she made us one. It was really cool.
She's a big knitter.
Yeah, and I definitely like the tension of taking the tiles, putting them on your side, but you might not be able to get them right away, especially with the tiles that come out.
Right.
Well, and then trying to set up the mad scientist tile.
Yeah.
Because so there's 3 different spots of the board. They're rows that are next to you. The middle row is, I think they call it the registry.
Yes.
And then there's your side, and then there's your opponent's side. Whenever you're playing the tiles, you can play them to your side as long as they match at least one of the types of the center tiles in the registry, and that spot is not already filled by a tile. The way you get them back is you play another tile to the registry that does not match either type or color on that tile, and it'll come back to you and you can place it. The mad scientist can never be released to your collection. Instead, if you play a mad scientist and it gets released, you put it into the center and replace that tile. You get the tile it replaces, which could potentially also release another tile. It's a way to get 2 tiles in a go.
Yep.
Which can be good, or if you planned it poorly, it could be really bad.
Because if you get a tile, you have to place it, and if it goes in a place that messes up your pattern, It's just there forever.
The only way you can not place a tile is if it completely closes off your system, because your system can never be completely closed off.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and at least like what I've done early on is you can play tiles not connected and then hope to get them connected by the end of the game. You don't actually have to play tile to tile, so long as you play tile to tile or side to side, that's fine. So sometimes, especially early on, if you wanted, especially if coming out of your...
I haven't been playing that way.
No.
Especially coming out of your head tile, if you want to split it immediately, sometimes I'll build off to the side in order to then connect to it, and then I can build up from there.
Oh, no,
So, yes,
I've never played it like that.
That is something you can do.
Okay, that's an added strategy that I didn't currently have in my repertoire, but the next game's going to be interesting, Andrea.
Yeah, and that's
try it.
And that's why if you read the rule book, it mentions that you disconnect everything that isn't connected back to your starting tile via pipe.
Oh,
So
I see.
Something to keep in mind.
Yeah. That's a new way for us to try.
So
Very nice.
the second game we're going to talk about is Jinxo. And the copy we played was my uncle's own self-made version of it. Jinxo is designed by Martin Ang and is currently published by Table Toys Games. It does not have a U.S. release yet, but I think they're looking for a mid-spring release for it.
That would be great.
Jinxo is a party game where you're going to have a grid of 9 spots to put answers, and you're going to have 3 questions that come out, like best ice cream flavors, things commonly found in a medicine cabinet, domesticated animals. And each time you're going to put 3 answers in the squares. Now, over the tops of the columns, there'll be a 1 column, a 2 column, and a 3 column. Over the rows, there'll be a 1 row, a 2 row, and a 3 row.
Yeah.
You put all your answers where you think you can, and then once everybody's done, you then start going around and announcing an answer at a time. If you match with other people, you circle that answer. Good job. You get a point.
Yeah.
Every circle is going to be a point. However, if you can match exactly one other person, you also get to put a diamond down. A diamond's worth 2 points.
Okay.
So that answer, instead of just being worth 1, is now worth 3.
Ooh.
So you're not just trying to pick what you think is the most popular answer, but something you'll think that you'll match with at least one person, but not everybody.
Right.
Okay.
But it's also risky because if you're like, they're on the same track as me.
But
then
if nobody
they might be
gets
trying
it.
to play completely safe in that category, and you match nothing. Because if you don't match anybody, you put an X and you get no points.
No
for that.
points.
Horrifying. Yeah.
Now, then you have those columns and rows I talked about. If you have circles that connect down a column or a row, you get the points that are above. So it's the 1 column, the 2 column, the 3 column.
Okay.
So if you connect all the stuff in the 3 column, that's 3 points. All the
Interesting.
stuff in the 3 row is 3 points. So that's another way where you're trying to put your guesses.
Okay.
Because you probably want your most popular that you think everybody's going to hit, that you'll at least get a circle for in that 3 column and that 3 row. But the questions are asked one after another. So you have to put all your first 3 answers for the first category first.
Yeah, you can't hold something back.
Then the second, and then the third. Because that third round, you might have some really easy, like, oh, I wish I could switch those around, but you can't.
Right. It worked really, really good for a great big group of people. There were probably, 15 of us playing all at once at your family Christmas party?
I think the box plays 4 to 7, the way that they published it.
Okay.
But my uncle took, 3 copies of Green Team Wins that he got on clearance.
And just used the dry erase boards and made little boards.
And he took the punch boards from some of his board games, because I always toss them. He goes, you know what I did with some punch boards? I put it on this, and I made a game until it comes out, and then he's going to pick up the game, because it's that good.
Yeah.
But
why not?
he used 3 copies of Green Team Wins, so that's 18 players.
Yeah.
And he just put the punch boards over that and gave us,
Yeah.
we all have piles of dry erase markers at this point. If you've
Right.
got any party game.
Yeah.
So everybody got a dry erase marker.
Yeah.
We went through and played it.
So be on the lookout for that when it comes
If
to the
you like
US.
a good party game, Jinxo should be on your radar.
Yeah.
Nice.
Ben, what games have you been interested in?
Man, one game that I picked up last year and then wound up playing it a shocking number of times was Ginkopolis. This was a guess I would describe it as a tableau building game where a lot of end game scoring is based on area majority. So every turn, everyone has a hand of 4 cards that you're always passing around the table, but you're going to pick one card as an action. You'll either play the card by itself or you'll play it with a tile. Depending on what card you took will determine kind of the action that you're going to take. But the nice thing about the building is that you're all collectively building one little city on top of a ginkgo tree is the is the theme. And
sorry, the doggo's licking my fingers right after we had wings, and he went.
Gosh, he's. But so you can build the city outward, or you can also build it upward. And there's no upward limit to building, and you kind of want to build it upward because that gives you more area control in certain sectors. So you're trying to line up colors together to have what they call districts. But the neat thing is that as the game goes on, you can start to split districts into different colors to see, like, well, I don't have control of this district, but if I can lock it off here, I will have control of it, expanding other things area. And for each of the actions, and each color, there's 3 colors, and each color has cards 1 through 20. 1 through 10 just gives you bonuses for taking certain actions. So it's really nice to get those early, and then when you start buying into the 11 through 20, those are where you're going to get your endgame point modifiers. So some might have to do with how many resources you have on certain colors of buildings. Some might score you points for how high up you have tiles or how low you have tiles. Yeah. It's a very interesting game. Teaching it is a little bit interesting because it's hard to visualize the game being played while it's being taught. And then usually after a few rounds you go, okay, I see what's going on. But then that's where the strategy and the tactics come in of like... Yeah. Oh, okay, and of course the kicker being in that everyone's simultaneously choosing their actions, so sometimes something that happened to the player before you that they did ultimately then affects what your action might give you. Yeah. So it's very interesting, kind of tense game. Plays in about an hour at most. Yeah. If you know it, you might be able to fly through it. Every playthrough I've had of it, it's always been a different strategy. It's a lot of fun. Okay. I like it a lot.
Nice. We might have to pick that up.
Might have to.
That game is out of print. And
okay. Well, never mind.
And the company that made it is also out of business. Pearl Games is no longer.
They did Everdell, didn't they? They did Deus in the first print of Everdell.
Everdell has always been Starling Games.
That's Starling Games.
Yeah, Pearl Games. I can't remember what the last thing they did, but yeah, they printed Ginkopolis twice, and no one else has picked it up.
They did the Bloody End. They did La Granja for Europe. La Granja got picked up by
Stronghold Games.
In the U.S.
And then La Granja was then also picked up by Board and Dice for their master set.
Nice. Well, maybe somebody else will pick it up then.
I would love to see that because there was an expansion that was made for it before Pearl Games had shut down. If I could find that, like instant buy. Like everything I'd seen online about Ginkopolis was like this was kind of like a Holy Grail adjacent game, and seeing the last copy at Meta, I was just like. You know what? No one's picking this up. Just sold a game, so I'm gonna get some money back. Let's just go ahead and pick it up. I have not regretted that decision. Let me see.
This plays 1 to 5. It's designed by Xavier Georges, and like you said, published by Pearl Games, which is no longer with us.
Yeah. Let me see here. Oh. I've played it 7 times last year, and I bought it in the back half of the year. For me, that's a lot because usually I tend to play a lot of heavier, longer games that are a little harder to get to the table. This one getting played 7 times in 6 months is honestly impressive for me.
Nice.
So, Yeah, a lot of fun. Really like this game.
Last game we're going to talk about is a dice rolling sort of part. It's a bigger player count game. Push your luck game called Chicken. Chicken is published by Keymaster Games, designed by Scott Alms. It comes in a little round
container.
Yeah.
It looks like a Pringles.
Yeah,
Pringles can.
like a short,
mini.
stocky Pringles can. Yeah, just
That you used to get at the gas station like
Yeah.
10, 15 years ago before they went to those weird little sample cups.
Yep.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I miss the half cans. That's what the chicken comes in.
Yeah, basically.
Anyway, it comes out, it's got a cloth mat, and it plays up to 8. On your turn, you're going to roll dice, and the dice have eggs, fox heads, blanks, and chickens. Chickens are what you want.
Yeah.
And you get to roll up to twice. After you roll your dice, any fox heads lock. You cannot re-roll those. Eggs bring more dice out from the coop, which is the center of the board. And chickens count for points. You can roll to twice. If at any time in those rolls, if you roll 3 or more fox heads, you crap out and you get nothing. But if you are successful and you stay, or you get your 2 rolls and you have as many chickens as you have, you get your points and you pass the pile of dice that you have accumulated to the next player. Now they can either roll with what they got, or they can chicken out, lose 2 points, and go back down to just 4 dice. But I've never ever seen anybody use that tactic.
Yeah.
Even people that are about to win still want to see how badly they can crush their opponents.
Oh my gosh.
And then, like I said, it plays 1 to 8, and then as you're grabbing dice from the coop, they vary in color. You start with 4 white dice. They have, I think, 1 or 2 chickens, couple blank faces, an egg, and a fox, 1 fox face. Then, when you have an egg, you bring more chicken dice out of the coop. Then you have a couple fox faces, egg, chicken. Then the orange ones come out after you've gone through the yellows to add to your pile. The orange ones have 2 fox faces, so they're more prevalent to have foxes, but they also have a face that has double chickens. So you got risk reward once you get to the orange ones.
Yep.
But you have risk.
Yeah. Yes, I really enjoy playing chicken, and I've had a few games where I've just swindled wins out of nowhere because someone just gets a little too greedy. And
It's such an unassuming little game, but when you play it, people are giggling, laughing, hooting, and hollering. We got it at Moon City Con because Metagames brought like a dozen copies, and they sold it within like the first day.
Yeah, no, they were sold out.
So much so that like Jeremy was trying to order more copies, and he sold his demo copy to somebody, thinking he could get some more within the next week. But Keymaster was out.
Yep.
Ooh, yeah.
And they were out for a little bit, and then they finally got it back in.
Right.
But we pulled it, and we haven't played it since probably then.
Well, we played it at Christmas.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We brought it then out at Christmas time to play with my aunt, my uncle, and as people, because we got there early, and we started playing. We actually tried to punch and play Nestlings, but it was a little heavy for what my family was. As I was reading the rules.
Yeah.
So we boxed Nestlings back up for that moment, and I pulled out Chicken, and we started playing. And so it's me, Andrea, uncle, cousin. We're playing that. They're laughing, having a good time. My aunt comes in. She's like, I don't know, learning new games. I'm like, sit down. All you have to do is roll dice, and either you win or you lose. And then she brought her neighbor to our Christmas, because I think her family came in early and they left. She's like, you can't be by yourself during Christmas. So she brought her in. So now we're at 6 playing, rolling dice. And my uncle, who doesn't, he does Christmas lights. He'll sit down and play games if he has to. He sits down and starts playing with us. He's like, this is pretty good.
He ended up winning.
He ended up winning a couple times.
Oh, I see how it is.
So we went through probably like 5-6 games of Chicken until it was finally enough people had arrived so we could start dinner.
Yep.
So then I had to put the game away and we had our dinner. But as soon as we were done with dinner, my aunt's like,
Can we play again?
Can we play again? Where can I get that game? And I said, well, our friendly local game store, Metagames, they close here in an hour if you want to run over there, and I think they have a copy. And she goes, I'll think about it. And I think she probably bought it online because she's a Prime member. And
you can just sit back and just let it come to you.
It's Christmas Eve. Why do you really want to get back out in Christmas Eve traffic.
No, like... Yeah.
But I think my uncle went there the day after Christmas to see if they had a copy.
Ah, okay.
Now, I don't know if they still have their copies or not. But that is Chicken Keymaster Games. That is 4 games we've talked about. Ben, you had one more that you want to talk about. We'll give it a bonus 4th game.
Yes, bonus 4th game. And this is one all of us appreciate because of me. And that's Planet Unknown.
Yes.
I've been playing it. I've been playing it a little more recently. Just managed to pull it off the shelf. And it's one of those games where every time I pull it down, I'm like, man, I love this game. And then it just gets played a bunch. Played it with Matt and friends this past week, and of course the anticipation of the incoming expansion to the game is, that's not adding to the hype at all or anything like that. But yes, just a fantastic polyomino game, easily my favorite polyomino game that I own. Not that I'm against them or anything like that, but I feel like some of them are either just a bit too easy and it's okay, but I love the, getting to play more Planet Unknown a little more with the asymmetric sides, and love playing with the tracks and the technology stuff. It's always good and trying to figure everything out. Almost filled up my planet. I don't even think that's possible in the game. That requires too many people to be like perfect. But that was the close.
It's easier to do on a 2-player game.
Yes, that was. I playing it last night. That was the closest I came to filling out a planet. I would have just needed 3 more pieces specifically, and that would have been awesome. But Planet Unknown, still a great game. It ain't going anywhere. We're waiting for our lids. That's all we want.
Yeah, I want my lid. Because honestly, whenever you do the special planets with the special corporations, there's some pairings you can get that just makes the game rough.
Yeah.
So anymore, I like doing either or. I like either doing the special planets or the special corporations.
Yeah, so with our game last night, because I read the rules and it says each player individually decides which side they want to use.
Oh.
Because I thought it was an all or nothing thing, but apparently you can just decide which side you want to use.
Okay, so if you get a planet that does not work with your corp, because there's a couple of the lava planets that transportation is just a nightmare.
Yeah.
Okay, that's actually not that bad then. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Yep. So like last night, I played both sides asymmetric, and then our friends Matt and Adam played corporation side asymmetric, but with the normal planet, because I think they did have more difficult planets. Matt had the non-planet black hole, which because of course instead of building in a circle, you're building outside of the planet effectively. And I was like, if I had that, I would have slammed that down. But that one, thinking about the shapes for that one is incredibly difficult.
That's an upgrade that I'm getting.
Yeah. Oh, you're getting all the promo
planets.
Yeah. Probably promo corporations as well.
Promo planets, corporations, the lid, and the expansion.
Yep.
I didn't care about the upgraded bits because I thought the wood bits are just as nice as the 3D bits.
Yeah, and I like. I mean, obviously, I back the 3D bits.
The 3D bits are very nice. But if you already have the wood bits, I don't think they're as big of an upgrade for me for that cost.
Right, and with the original 3D bits, there was a bit of a problem with the wash that wasn't caught until after they'd already been shipped out. It doesn't bother me. Oh. I still think they look nice, and I'm happy to have them.
There's some deluxe games that I'm like, oh, the deluxe is really nice.
Yeah.
And then I think there's some retail versions that are just fine.
Yeah.
And in this one, I think the retail release that everybody got, I think it's a really excellent game.
Yeah, still a very good game. Just looking forward to that expansion and lid.
All right, that was the 4 and the 417Gamer podcast. We're going on to the one topic of the show, which is New Year's resolutions. Last year, how did we do? And this year, what are we going to try and do? The one topic of the show is New Year's resolutions.
We're already laughing. That's bad sign.
So last year, what episode was that? Whatever episode last year was.
just subtract 12?
No, because I've changed the numbering of the podcast episodes. Usually I did an episode, then the expansion, and then somebody said, you should just number your episodes.
Fair.
So I did that. When our 2-year anniversary came out in October, everything's just numbered. So your episodes are going to be 31 for the Christmas or for the New Year's resolution stuff.
Okay.
And then your interview is going to go up on the 32nd.
Okay.
So last year's New Year's resolutions, we'll start with mine. I said that I was wanting to average one big game a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
I get Pitch Force and I got Pitch Carplayed that were not at Moon City Con. Moon City Con did not count. But after we got past July, we started planning for a wedding in our cruise and Andrea's friend's wedding. And I'm using all this as excuses as to why I did not get that New Year's resolution done. But another one I did say is games that were not played within the last 3 years, 22, 23, and 24, go up on the chopping block.
Yeah. And
that will lead into one of my New Year's resolutions this year. So those were my two big ones. I'm absolutely serious on the games not played in the last 3 years are on the chopping block. They are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm going to look at... That puts like 70 games in that radar that I need to hard look at it.
Yeah.
Are we going to play it? Am I going to play it? Or is it going to get floated down the river?
Yeah.
And we have enough people in our game group right now that they would snatch them up on the river.
Oh, yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
Andrea, your New Year's resolution was play games more than once.
I think I actually did pretty good with this.
You did pretty good.
But not because it came organically, but because I had to force it. I was like, we would get done playing a game. I was like, all right, let's go again. You're like, well, let's play that. No. Let's play this one again.
and we'd be close in scores. Whether she won by a little bit or lost by a little bit, she's like, let's go again.
Yeah.
And I get it. She likes to explore games a little bit more. I like to see what the new one does.
That's like half and half for me. Like, because if I really like a game, then I'm gonna want to explore it. But also, just because I get so many games coming in at a time that it's like, oh, I want to play the new stuff. Like how can I not? I've read the rules.
10x10 board, we're gonna change it. It's all gonna be games this year.
Ooh.
Some of them we got done. Some of them we got really, really close.
Yep.
And some of them we didn't do so well. The campaign and RPGs, no. Actually, the home improvement should be done. We did a whole bunch right before the cruise, and we did one right after. And actually, we got to put the doors back on the cabinet because that was a fix that happened. That was a home improvement we didn't know we had to do.
Yeah,
we noticed there was water on the bottom shelf of our bathroom sink. I'm like,
that was
crap.
a slow drip.
That's bad.
So we had an old galvanized pipe nipple that needed to be taken off. The water had to be shut off. That was about 2 hours, 3 hours of home improvements.
Yeah.
So that absolutely counts. Fox Experiment Concordia. We got one more play of Fox Experiment, so that should be up one more, but we did not get that. Gizmo's Red Cathedral got done. 30-minute walks are done. We walked so much on the cruise. That's done.
Yeah. You would have finished that one easily.
Wyrmspan we played 2 more times when we got back, so that's done.
Nice.
Barry needs to learn one more trick, so we didn't get that one done.
Yeah.
Flamecraft and Aquatica. No. 5 of those plays are Aquatica. 1 play is Flamecraft. We need to get back to Flamecraft. She liked Flamecraft, and we got a promo card from somebody.
That was me.
Was that you? The Star Trek one?
Yeah.
No, not the Star Trek one. Oh, it was from Andromeda's Edge.
Andromeda's Edge. Okay, it was spacey themed.
Yeah. That was me.
And we got him like, we should play this. And I think we got it out. We shuffled it in, and it didn't come out. And she's like, we should have just made sure that came out.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah.
That was a good point. That's not how I shuffled it. I shuffled it how the rules told me.
Yeah, you're nothing wrong with that. But yeah, like sometimes I do like if I get something new, I want to make sure that like that gets included.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. But not to rules me when I was setting up the game because I'm reading the rules.
Yeah,
because we hadn't played it since the February before.
Yeah, so so that's super easy to just like shuffle it in and just deal it out. Like, it didn't come out. Oh well. Especially when it's like a single card.
Right. So Andrea, you did pretty good on your playing game.
I did.
And you were the the steward of your doing the resolution. Ben, you had, let's see here, play from your pile of possibilities. Your unplayed pile.
Yes, it was looking through my games played last year. I did okay.
Yeah.
I managed to hit a few of them that I had gotten and hadn't played yet. I think because looking at it, I played 145 unique games last year.
Yeah.
And so obviously, and the nice thing about BG Stats is you can look through and see what the new thing you played was that year. And I'm scrolling through it and I was like, I'm not seeing a lot of stars on this. But there were a few that I could pick out and be like, okay, cool. I remember when I got that. And, so there were a few that did get played. More than a few definitely more than a few that got missed. But I've also just kind of I'm getting better at culling games, because one game that I held on to for 7 years, never got played, and this is probably going to sound disappointing to some people out there, is I hadn't played Near and Far. I bought it right when it came out.
And that was one of the things on the New Year's resolution episode. You're like, Near and Far, I'm looking at you. You're getting played.
Yep,
and you're going away.
And it didn't happen. So I was just cleaning out space, and I was just like, do you know what? I feel bad. I didn't think about it. It probably just needs to go. And, sold it to Meta. I sold a few games to Meta, and I think they were all gone in 3 days. So, Near and Far got cut. I'm still open to playing it, but it's not going to be my copy, and I'm not going to rush to play it at this point. But there's still more than a few games that need to get played. But I will kind of cross that bridge when I get there. I think now that with the end of the year passed, I can kind of calm down on some of the Cult of the New stuff, and play a few play a few other games, either ones that are still on that shelf, we'll say, or other games that people are looking to get played. Because I think I tend to focus more on the yearly stuff, kind of more starting mid-year going forward.
Yeah,
it's a little bit easier.
Rick.
It's a little bit easier to think about, but they're obviously, when we get to our main topic next, we'll kind of have a little bit of that discussion. So, but yeah, so things are good. I have different ideas for what I want to do this year, and I think it's something that's a more attainable goal that I'm sure we'll discuss here.
That brings us right to it then.
Yeah. Yeah.
The 2025 New Year's resolutions. Mm-hmm. Andrea, do you know what your resolutions is?
I think that one of the things that we're in a habit of doing is on our challenge board, we put up things we want to get done, but we don't really make that big of an effort. Mm-hmm. I think let's make our resolution, or my resolution this year, especially since we're going to make everything on the board games, is to actually have 10 out of 10 and get them done.
Oh, just 10 games and get 10 out of 10 each play.
Get that H score of 10. Yes.
Yeah. All right.
It's a great goal.
Because we've never done that before.
10 by 10. And are we doing it hardcore to where those are the 10 games we have to play, or do we just want to play 10 games 10 times?
Oh, no.
If we get burned out on one of the games on the chart?
They need to go on the board.
She's going hardcore.
Yeah.
Yes.
They need to be what we do.
Okay.
Yes.
10 by 10.
Not just randos.
And
here's the thing. I say goals are all accountability, so let me help you be accountable. Call me in on some of those games.
Right?
Well, all right.
Oh my gosh, sweating more than he did the wings earlier.
I can't change it at the last. What are you saying here? Let's see here. So I said on the 417Gamer group and multiple groups, because we do a question of the weekend that we ask on Fridays, and we've been doing that in the 417Gamer group. We've been doing it for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
But recently, we've been sharing the questions over to the Board Game group, the Dice Tower group, the Board Game Geek group, and then other local game groups: Joplin, Board Bolivar Area Game Society.
Yep.
And the Grove Gamers Guild.
Yes.
I think I got them all.
Yeah.
Anyway, the question was your New Year's resolution. I told them calling 30 games by June.
Ooh.
So that was one, and I said I had at least 2 more for the podcast.
Yeah.
And Andrea has the 10 by 10.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For me, I want to get back to reading rule books more than just watching videos.
Sure.
I've gotten very lazy on watching the gameplays and watching a gameplay, and maybe they did the rule wrong, and me just assuming that's how I teach it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done that a few times.
Wow.
Or sometimes watching a couple plays of a couple different games, and then I get the rules crossed. I'm like, no, that's how the rule goes. I'm like, no, that was... You got sleepy during one game, then you watched another game, and now you have the rules crossed.
Oh, no.
So, reading rule books.
Yep.
That's 2. 3 is, I want to play an RPG with some friends this year. I don't care if it's a one-shot. I have books. I've talked about it. We had a challenge for us to play some type of campaign. But the more as you get an adult, the schedules, they do not align.
Yeah.
And if you want to play a long campaign RPG, getting people you like on a schedule that you all can adhere to is very important and very hard to do.
Yes.
So if I could get everybody together to at least just learn the rules of an RPG set and do a one-shot for a night, that's fine. I could absolutely do that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, and I think I should consider doing this into my resolution when I talk about it. But because there is an RPG that I bought, because I'm not a big RPG guy. I think it needs to kind of hit a few things for me. I think for me, I'm not much of playing RPGs. I do like sitting back and kind of listening in, or in some cases, depending on the game, I might consider being the GM. And a game for me on that, because I own it, is Paranoia, because I like the idea and the setting, but the main thing is that the onus on the story crafting goes more towards the players, and the players telling the GM, like, here's what I want to do, and more or less the GM kind of being like, yeah, that's cool, and then thinking up something around that. So giving more, from that, kind of gives more agency to, from what I've seen, gives a little more agency to the players, and I think that'd be something I would love to actually run, and could just easily be a one-shot or a 3-game campaign just to kind of introduce story in the world and whatnot. So I hear you on that one, and I kind of want to take part in that.
Well, that brings us to your resolutions. That's 3 so far. There's one I'm kind of hedging on, but I think 3 are enough because I didn't do the 3 I had last year.
Right. Yeah. So like I mentioned earlier, I definitely want a more attainable resolution. And talking with some friends recently, one thing that I want to do this year is I want to do scheduled games, and not just like, oh hey, we're gonna come over and play like Nucleum. I'm talking like, let's come over and we're gonna play the original Dune game. We're gonna have 6 people. We're gonna be like, now granted, Dune could be like 4 hours or 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's there. So games included in that would be Dune, John Company 2nd edition, longer games that I would love to play with bigger groups, and Paranoia, because that would be something where I would want to schedule with people, get over and get them over to the house, and let's sit for an evening and learn this. And like I'm really looking to Paranoia because I like the character creation system in it, where that it's not like D&D where you go home and then create your character. Character creation in Paranoia is everyone sitting together, because unfortunately for you, everyone else, or rather the players sitting to your immediate left and right, get a little bit of a say in how your character is built, and the rules of the game encourage you to be just a little bit spiteful about it, because 'cause what is it like? You roll when you can take stats like character creations. Everyone names a stat in turn order. Whichever stat you take as a positive, the player to your left takes that stat as a negative.
Ooh.
And then once you get through all of that, then you need to come up with 3, preferably positive adjectives about your character. At which point you will then hand your board to the player to your right, and they will take one of those adjectives and flip it to its antonym. So they will, flip it to its opposite, and that's what your character is set at. So you'll have all of your stats, and then some weird quirk about your character, because one of the things you thought was going to be a positive is all of a sudden a negative. So I like that idea where it is a group activity of doing character creation, and then you can just go right into the game. So, yes, more scheduled games this year, not just like scheduled game days. I want scheduled large games.
Nice.
Oh, nice. All right, I'm going to do a 4th.
Okay.
I want to bring my H score up to 30, which isn't a huge win for me. I'm already at 28.
Oh, okay. Overall. Got it.
Yep, my overall H index score is 28. Means the H index is how many games you've played how many times.
Okay, all right.
I have 28 games that I've played 28 times.
Okay.
Now, that does mean I've got... I have 4 games that I could potentially play. No, I don't. I have 3 games that I could get up that quick. Because Pandemic Season 1, I'm not going back through again. I have 27 plays of that.
Yeah, there's no reason to go back to that one.
And I had one group that completely finished it. And then I had one group that got halfway through. And then lives changed, jobs changed, schedules changed. Yeah. 2 of them moved, and we're like, we're never going to get back to this, are we? No, we are not.
I had to check what my all-time H index is. Mine's at 12. I'm impressed. That's a lot higher than I thought it would be.
Nice.
But Splendor Duel, Andrea and I should get 2 more plays of that to get it up.
Oh, that'd be easy.
That's easy.
We'd do that right now while we're recording. Get the thing out.
Pull it out.
Kemet's at 26. My city's at 26, and we could go grab my city and play the Legacy game, which we never do. But then, after that, we've got Descent Journeys in the Dark that's at 24. Lost Cities is at 24. Between Two Cities is at 24. Lords of Waterdeep's at 23. And I think that is... She got us a new map for Christmas. We have the Grip Mats big map that has the base and the expansion all on it.
Just all nice. That's super good.
So that's something we might put on our 10 for 10, and that might help us get to that H index naturally.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of games within striking distance for you. That's nice.
Yeah. My thing's not looking so bad now.
Okay, we're not putting that game on there at all.
Like, come on. Now.
Rewind it.
So, yeah, raise my H index to 30. So that's 4 New Year's resolutions. And that way, maybe I can hit 2 of them and not feel so bad that I got at least half of them.
Nice.
Yeah,
this last year, no bueno.
No bueno.
No.
That was the one topic of the show. We still have the 7 in the 417Gamer podcast, which are the 7 best games of 2024 that we played.
Yep. Looking forward to it.
The 7 in the 417Gamer podcast is the 7 of a given category. We're talking about 2024 games. Ben, you played quite a bit. I played quite a bit. Andrew, you played some.
I did.
Wow.
I got a participation trophy, apparently.
No, she played quite a bit, and I drug her into some games that she was like, I don't want to play that. I want again.
It's true.
And I played a couple of those myself.
Fair.
But 2024 seemed like it was the heavy gamers haven.
It really was.
Like Asian Tigers, Unconscious Mind, Galileo SETI, Windmill Valley, Civolution.
Yeah, like really anything.
Like if you like heavy, crunchy games, this was the year for you.
Yes, it is. It is.
So, Ben.
Yes.
What was your number 7 favorite game from 2024?
Starting off with probably the lightest game on my list, but this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone considering my affinity with this particular company. Number 7 for me is Wyrmspan. This one designed by Connie Vogelman, with oversight from Elizabeth Hargrave, since this does use the Wingspan systems, and published by Stonemaier Games. So yes, Wyrmspan is the I don't want to say dragon rethemed or dragon reskinned version of Wyrmspan. That's what people kind of thought it was when it was first announced.
It is.
It is and isn't. But I think people and myself were more impressed with how different and fresh the game actually felt in terms of playing it. Because I know because that came out pretty much right at the start of the year. So kind of like I mentioned earlier, that a lot of the new games I play usually happen later in the year. This one, I hit the ground running because it just came out right at that time. And I think it's a fantastic game. I do like Wyrmspan a lot. But I think some of the changes made in Wyrmspan kind of endear me towards Wyrmspan a little bit more. The streamlining of food and resources not being random, I think, is a huge positive for this game.
Yeah. And it's easier to teach, I think.
Yes, it's a little bit easier to teach, but in a way it's definitely heavier than Wyrmspan, because now instead of everyone having the same number of actions every turn, where then you're always doing a like the engine building portion of the game, now the engine building or the engine running portion of the game is now relegated to its own action, and that changed the game up quite a bit, especially because now it's its own action. There's also a limit on how many times you can take that action in a turn, or in a round, I should say. And so very unique yet similar to from Wyrmspan. But I think I do think I like it a lot more, because you get 6 actions every round, but you have opportunities to earn more actions in each round. I think a record for me was you count actions via coins. My record is, in the final round of one game, I managed to earn 7 extra coins, but ran out of things to do, so I only used 5 of those extra coins. And so out of 13 actions, so I had 2 extra points at the end of the game because I had 2 unused coins, because they were not worth anything to me in terms of actions. That getting additional actions, it wants you to do different things. And I also like the streamlining of, there's no bonus cards in the game. It's all now just the dragon cards. And yes, you do have the cave cards, but those serve a strictly different purpose than, say, like a hand of bonus cards. Now it's just find those dragons and you can dig through them, and spending cards can be a resource in certain capacities. So,
Andrea, you're number 7.
Mine is Star Trek version of Star Realms. I have always been a huge Star Trek fan, and you introduced me to Star Realms, the card game, several years ago. And we have played it. It's a 2-player card game, and we played it several times, and I've always enjoyed it. But making it a Star Trek theme with all of the ships from Star Trek, which I know what the ships are a lot more than you do. And I'm like, I'll get the Klingon bird of prey, and you're like, the green ship? And I'm like, yep, that's the one.
Yeah, it's the green round ship. It's got the pokey bits in the front.
Yeah. So I have really enjoyed it. It's very much the same mechanics as regular Star Realms, same type of play. You get the star, or your starships or your cards, and you can get the space stations to go out in front of you to help block attacks, just like regular Star Realms. But as you know, I'm really into my theme games, and having my
theme
favorite
goes a long way for you.
Yeah. So having all of my favorites in incorporated into a game we already liked was very nice.
Yeah.
My number 7 is Paper at Dungeon. I will give a lot of credit to a game that makes me enjoy something that I usually don't. And I don't generally like solo games. But Paper at Dungeon is a notepad with a pencil that has numbers on 6 sides of it. So you can roll the pencil and then you get to do the things.
Yeah.
Each notepad is procedurally generated. So every notepad is going to be a little bit different for every person that picks their copy up. You flip over the first page. If you roll an even number, you go orthogonals. If you roll odd numbers, it's diagonals. You can hit enemies. You can gain health. You can gain monies. You can get treasure chests. At the end of the map, You add up the hearts that you gained. You subtract the enemies that you've taken damage for. Enemies usually have a number, 1 through 6.
Sure.
Some of the later dungeons, you can get enemies that are 9, 10, and...
Whew.
Yeah. About every 5 or 6 pages, a shop will come up. Sometimes it's a healing shop. Sometimes it's an equipment shop. And that equipment basically like, now you have more health. Now you have a stop damage for a time or something along those lines.
Yeah.
But unless you flip through the book and like search for what's coming next, I just played it as is.
You should, yeah. Like you're going through a dungeon.
I can't leave a game off the list that I played 26 times.
No, yeah.
I know it's not the snazziest game. It's not the most expensive game. But one of the guys that Metagames was like, what are those? He goes, we got this thing. He's like, I didn't think much of it, but we've been dead today, and I've already got stock. I've already sorted the magic cards that we've gotten in so far. Mm-hmm. He's like, I just started playing this thing, and then I'm like, okay. The one thing I don't like is I don't like rolling the pencil.
No. So you just get a D6. That's
exactly.
Easy. Yeah,
so I have a D6 that goes with my game. And then I took it to work after I bought it, and then I played through 3 maps, and I was like, oh, I can't be doing this at work.
No.
So then I brought it home, and I think Andrea wasn't feeling good that weekend. I was like, all right. So I played through, and then she's like, what you doing? I'm like, I'm on map 9. So... this is Paper Wrap Dungeon, and I got 2 more copies so we could play together.
Yeah.
To play it basically like a roll and write.
Yeah, that's cool.
But we never got to that portion. But like I said, played it 26 times.
Yeah, you can't.
And I haven't quite finished it. I have a few more maps to get to the end. Mm-hmm. I died once.
Oh no.
When you die, you go to the next map, just refilled health, but you lost all your monies.
Okay.
So it's not that big of a deal, but it is, because on the back page, you have a little tombstone that you mark how many times you died in the game.
I'm sorry, I'm just thinking it's like the Pokemon dying, just like you black out and then the kid robs you and then you're at the Poke Center.
That's basically what it is. I'm at the Paper App Center. Let's see here. Paper App. Here, Paper App Dungeon. Come on. Yeah, our AT&T modem has been going out in and out.
Yeah.
This is published by Lucky Duck Games. It is designed by Tom Brenton.
Okay.
Andrea, you're number 6.
My number 6 is a game we just got this week, and it's already made it into my top 7. River Valley Glassworks.
Yes.
A friend of ours teaches games for Envoy Games, and she's always...
A couple of our friends are doing now. Yeah.
And she's always doing demos, and she was going on and on about this game, about how good it was.
And how she would like it.
Yeah. And so Rick picked up a copy, and I really have enjoyed it. It's about the weight of, I'd say, Azul or Splendor. It's a lighter introductory weight game. However, when people who play a lot of games, like we do, and my list is quite a bit lighter weight games than the heavyweight games that you guys have got on your lists, but we still enjoy it because you can really... There are ways that you can collect your glass pieces where you can calculate what you're pulling from the bag and putting into your bag to what you spend to put onto your map. And basically an overview of the game is you have a bag, which the game comes with a really nice bag to hold all of your glass pieces.
That's good.
They are plastic clear pieces that look like glass, and some really pretty shades. It's a beautiful game with some good artwork and good pieces. You lay out a river, you draw your glass pieces, you sprinkle them out in the river according to the stones that are on the river pieces, and then you have a little bag of stones, and you have to pay into the river to be able to take tiles from an adjacent tile square to fill up your board. Very much like Azul, where columns and rows filled up equal more points. So It's very thematic.
And you also have waste tiles that'll go to the top and count against you at the end of the game.
Very much like Azul.
Yeah,
If you have
yeah.
extras, they go into your negative area. So I really enjoyed it. It's a different way to play that similar Azul feeling game, but we have played it
7 times already.
7 times
Jeez,
in a
yeah.
week.
And
Because
so far, whoever's first player loses.
yes, that's another reason.
Have you only played it 2 players?
Only
or-
played it 2 player.
So that could change with 3 or 4, depending. I kind of overlooked that one, but
Yeah.
I'd be open to playing it sometime.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. But it's a quick game. It plays in 20 minutes. So to play it back to back for us is easy.
Cool.
Let's see here. My number 6 is Wyrmspan.
Oh,
Johnny Vogelman. Stonemaier Games. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
And we got the upgraded bits for it. We have neoprene player mats.
I usually go without those, but I get it.
Yeah. Well, the games that are our favorites, check them out. Like Concordia.
Yeah. Oh,
Got all the nice bits.
Yeah.
Scythe got all the nice bits.
Makes sense.
Our Lords of Waterdeep. We have the upgraded mat. We have the
Yep.
D&D pools. We have, we have metal coins
Yeah,
now.
nice
Oh my,
coins.
yeah. I mean,
I'd say that's my
you're
favorite upgrade is the metal coins.
Right.
Metal coins are like the best upgrade for whatever reason.
Yeah.
It just no matter put metal coins and you hear that clink, you're like, yes.
Most of our games, they're just fine. Because, Lorenzo Il Magnifico. I don't think I need... There's some upgraded tiles and bits that make it look nicer. But I don't think I need to upgrade that.
No, sure.
What is the Grand Austria Hotel? I think it's fine as it is.
Yeah, it's
I've
a
seen
dry
upgraded
one, but
bits.
yeah.
If it was one of my favorites, I absolutely understand upgrading all the cubes to the nice little
The
resources.
coffees and the cakes.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But I like it, but it's not that top. So upgrading
Fair.
it, yeah. Wyrmspan, however, she loves. I like, since it's in that realm.
Yeah.
Mats, resources. It's all going to be nice.
Yeah.
I have seen some stuff on Etsy that I'm probably going to upgrade our little cubes that go on the board.
Yeah.
So having a better shield for the Dragon
For
Guild
the Dragon
board.
Guild track, yep.
Nice. And your little worker that goes through the caves.
That's cool. Yeah.
So I'm probably going to upgrade that for us too.
Nice.
We'll forget about it and it might be a Christmas present next year. But as all you said, except for I disagree with the randomized resources. I like that better in Wingspan because it puts a little bit of a wrench in plans that I like. I like my tactical play in games of this weight.
Yeah.
To where I'm like, oh, I think I can get it. And then you roll the dice, you're like, no! And it's that pain. But without that pain, that the next game, when it does hit, makes that action all the sweeter.
Sure, and obviously I think that comes down to taste between you and you and I, because at least with Wingspan.
Oh, her also. She likes the Wyrmspan better too.
Fair enough. With Wingspan, I feel like the crunchiness of the resources is mitigated by how many cards you have, but that means you have to be willing to change your strategy more often. Whereas with Wyrmspan, you don't have to do that nearly as often.
Yeah, that's fair.
You can pretty easily path out what you want to do from turn to turn. Now that's not going to be for everything because then with Wyrmspan, since you do have a limit on how many cards you're allowed to hold in hand, you might the cards you get will change your strategy as that comes up. Whereas I feel like you can get a bunch of cards in Wingspan and then at the mercy of the resources, then you know what you can and can't play. So different things, But I think I like a little more of the assurance of what I'm getting versus
I know a lot of people do.
Yeah,
A lot of people do. I like the non-assurance. I like that little bit of tension.
yeah, but
And a lot of people don't.
doesn't mean I like Wingspan any less than I do.
That's fair. What's your number 6 though?
So going on to my number 6, we're going to get into the heavier stuff now here. My number 6 is Diatoshi, designed by Danny Garcia, which I feel like we're going to have some words on this gentleman later, possibly, and published by Devere Games. Now, admittedly, this one is a little bit harder to get in the U.S. at the moment because I've heard there have been some delays for Devere getting it to the US, so I'm not too sure of how many people in our area played it outside of the people who played it with me. So Diatoshi is one of the games in Devere's Kemushi Saga line that starts with Botoku, more words on Botoku later, possibly, and currently ends with Sand, which I know that is a highly divisive game for those of us who have owned it or played it. Oh no. But Diatoshi sits in the middle because it is set in we'll kind of say their industrial revolution, but in more of a steampunk way, where currently now people are industrializing, but getting the spirits kind of involved in it. But a mechanic that I like about this game is that, now granted, whatever you think of exploiting, I know that's a tough topic, but this one you are forced to exploit. But if you exploit a specific area too much, the spirits get upset, and that affects a certain action that you take throughout the game. So you have this balancing act of like trying to not exploit certain things as much while taking actions. You're always forced to do that, but then you have ways to get rid of those tiles to then honor the spirits at shrines. You have a rondel action board that everyone is moving around, and that's what you're doing with your main actions. But the other thing about it is that it's not permanently downtime. There is a production action that you can take where everyone gets involved. So you're never really sitting out. You do kind of have to pay attention, because sometimes if somebody produces on their turn, you can produce along with them, and then you can do more actions on your turn that will kind of help catapult you forward. I still want to play this one more. I've only played it just a small handful of times, but I've really enjoyed it every time I played it. I like the theme, and I like the idea. It's not necessarily an engine builder, but it has engine building aspects to it. Nice. And it's just, it really is just a lot of fun, but it definitely dips into the more Lacerda-esque of like,
complexity.
Yeah, like this is probably Danny's heaviest game, because earning points in this game is rather opaque, and especially since there's a lot of things that you're required to do, it becomes hard to like juggle of like, okay, here's what I want to do, you know. So that might not be for everyone, but so far I've always enjoyed every single play of it, except my solo plays. That bot is way too hard. I feel like I'm doing something wrong. It's murdering me by 100 points every time. And I'm just like, no, it's not possible. But yes, number 6 is Diatoshi.
Nice. All right, that brings us to number 5. My number 5 is the reason why Sand will not be on my list. This is Maple Valley, designed by Roberta Taylor, published by Kids Table Board Games. So both games are pick up and deliver.
Yes.
One is a lot more friendly and has a way easier rule book than the other.
Yes, I came around on Sand, mind you. I actually liked it a lot.
But we played Maple Valley 2 or 3 times, like, oh, this is cute. And then 2 weeks after we played that, we got out, we learned, and we played Sand. Mm-hmm. And then I played Sand again. And the first time, I'm like, okay, this is the first play, so there's some learning curve. There's a little bit of rough.
Absolutely.
And it's a punishing game where you lose turns the more stuff you have.
Mm-hmm.
Maple Valley doesn't do any of that.
No.
You want to carry bugs. You want to carry flowers. You want to carry sticks. Yeah. Carry as much as you want.
Yeah.
Because your parents, the animals of the village, just need you to bring stuff so you guys can have a festival. Mm-hmm. It's a happy theme. It's pretty art. It's fun gameplay.
Yeah.
And honestly, I thought it played just fine at 5. We played it at 2, 5, and 4. Mm-hmm. All those player counts played very, very well.
Nice.
Sand, we played at 3 and 4. 4 played mechanically well, but long. 3 played weird. And I don't know if it was just the 3-player game we had.
Did you play 3 players just once, or?
Yeah, I played it 2 times and then I put it back up.
That is interesting, but yeah.
But Maple Valley, Roberta Taylor, Kids Table Board Games, and the copy we got was off of Metagame's used shelf, because whoever kickstarted it Didn't care for it. Put it up there, and ours is the Kickstarter version. It's got the nice. Printed resources that are wood. All the stuff are just the nice bits, and honestly, I think the retail version's fine, but I'm not giving back our nice version.
Yeah,
but
right.
That's my number 5, Maple Valley. Ben, your number 5 is
my number 5. Speaking of Lacerda, this one is Inventions: The Evolution of Ideas. Probably the heaviest game on my list, and rightfully so. But this was considered Lacerda's attempt at a civilization style game. But in this case, it is a worker placement style game where you take actions, and instead of like normal civilization stuff where you're expanding, out into the world and getting resources and everything, in this case, this one is just the spread of ideas and inventions, as the name implies. So probably one of his more straightforward games in that all of the actions are rather straightforward, but it is neat where you have this interplay between players where like the big 4 actions are presenting an idea, be like, hey, I have the wheel, like like I put this out there, and then either I or someone else might actually create the dang thing, and then. So that would be inventing, somebody's presented idea. Later on down the line, someone different might come along and innovate on that idea. Granted, I don't know how you're going to innovate on the wheel, but you
put a stick through it.
Right? Yeah, there you go. Make an axle. Yeah. So that you can innovate the idea, and then whether it's been innovated or not, someone will then. Share the invention with the world, and that's how you're going to get your points and more resources. So it's very, like, when you're looking at it, the action seems straightforward, but then the hook of the game, at least to me, is that you have chain actions. And the easiest way to think of it is if there is an action that you want to take on your turn, you want to try and do as many actions on your turn to end with that singular action. And so you're kind of working backwards often from these actions, and you're at certain times in the game, you're only allowed to have so many chains. Every time I played it, it's a lot of fun. It's a game that I have not won yet, but it is. I've pretty much played it exclusively with our friends Gary and Elizabeth, with a few other holdouts there. I did play it at BGG Con, but I've easily the heaviest game of the year, and every time I've sat down, I do get immersed into it and very like, let's work on it. I've gotten better every time that I played it because those first 2 games were rough. But probably easily my favorite, my number 1 Lacerda as well. Nice. So yeah, my number 5, Inventions, again, designed by Vital Lacerda and published by Eagle Griffin Games.
Andrea, your number 5.
Well, this is a game Ben introduced us to. Let's go to Japan.
Yay!
We played it first at a local bar where we were having a game group meeting, and it was a good
best of luck.
Yes, best of luck.
It's a good bar type game because it's just it's a card game. It does take up a lot of table room though, I think.
Shockingly,
for a card set collection game.
Especially you put your board and you're like, oh, is this it? And you're like, no, you need like another foot below your board.
Right. So it packs up easy, but once you get it out, it takes up a lot of room.
Yeah.
So basically, you're going to go to Japan, and you're a sightseer, and the cards are different locations that you can go to see and take a tour of. And you're doing set collections, different places that you go worth different amounts of points. The little trick to it that I enjoyed was if you go from one city to another to see a site, you got to take the train to go from town to town. And I think Rick actually ended up winning on his because it costs you to take the train to go somewhere. Rick just saw all sites in one city.
Yeah.
He just went to one city, saw all there was to see there, and he ended up winning.
I stayed in Tokyo and I went nowhere else.
Yeah.
And he ended up winning because he just didn't spend those extra to take the train to go anywhere else.
Yeah, I got the train tickets and I just saved them, and I think I had a card that gave me points for leftover train tickets.
I think so, because normally leftover train tickets are not worth points. So if you've collected them, you're kind of on the hook to actually use them.
Yeah.
I do I think out of the AEG games that I got this year, Let's Go to Japan was easily my favorite. I feel bad. Undergrove, Elizabeth Hargrave, it was a miss for me. I thought I'd like it. It's a little bit too meandering. Still fun, but I'm kind of like, I'm probably...
It wasn't the year that they had the year previous or the one before that.
Elizabeth Hargrave or AEG? Yeah,
AEG. I think the last couple years they had some really big hits.
Yeah.
And then this last year,
it's hard not to get caught up in it.
Was fine.
Yeah.
Let's Go to Japan was really good, but the other ones were like...
Yeah.
And I really want, Point Galaxy.
I'm sure.
Maybe
well,
if Point Galaxy would have came out, I'd be softer.
Well, and the thing is like the.
And I know it's flat out games that they are bringing over, but.
Yep, but at least back to back onto Let's Go to Japan. I love that the scoring is done at the end of the game. You plan out your trip, and then everyone. I love doing it together where it's like, tell me how your Monday went. Like, what are we doing on Monday? And there are, at the very least, like duplicate cards in the game. And it's fun when multiple players have the same card in the same day. And then you're joking about running into each other at the, at the train museum.
Right, yeah.
like, oh yeah, we met up, had lunch, and then went to this, so it's definitely light. I wouldn't say midweight, but I need to play with some of the expansions.
Lighter mid, but still in the mid. You're not bringing this out with a newbie.
No, not necessarily, because you do need to have a little bit of forward planning, because you can put those cards in any dates, but if, let's say, if you front loaded, like all of your Thursday through Saturday, it could easily, Monday through Wednesday could easily throw off your game plan going into those dates. And that's kind of why I like it. So it kind of behooves you to move things around and fill things out at different times, and
I
hope
made
everything.
The plan, but now I don't have train fare to get there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Exactly.
and that's the thing. If you don't have train tickets, guess what? You're gonna get one at -2 points. So, you're not stuck. But very much a good purchase. I felt like on my end. I'm happy to have it, and that's one that's gonna stay.
Yeah.
Number 4, Ben.
Number 4 for me, this one, probably, I think, the largest table space game that I've got here. This one's going to Andromeda's Edge. This one was designed by Luke and Maximus Laurie and published by Cardboard Alchemy. This is a follow-up to Dwellings of Eldervale. I did not play Dwellings. I have it on good authority from our friends that Dwellings is a very good game. Then they played Andromeda's Edge, and their opinion quickly changed. So, Andromeda's Edge is a space-themed worker placement game where we're on the edge of on Andromeda's Edge, where you are placing your ships as workers to gather these moon tokens as resources or take actions, but at the same time you are fighting other players and these NPCs called raiders, which you can have different raiders in the game, and there's so you can either place your ships on your turn or you can recall them, and then recalling them isn't necessarily a downturn either. You're buying up all these modules that can give you extra things for the ships that you've recalled. It's been a lot of fun, and everyone everyone I've shown to it really enjoys it. It is a bigger game, can take a little while, but you have different factions that you can choose from with different abilities. It just really surprised me, especially because I'd seen Dwellings of Eldervale. Box was huge, and I was kind of like, no, I don't need that just yet. The Andromeda's Edge box is still pretty big, but not as big as the Dwellings box. But it really has been a lot of fun. That's a game that's not going to go anywhere out of my collection. Just because I love the theme. I love having a Euro game that wants you to be that could have you be aggressive with the other players, and it doesn't feel like a entirely negative thing, because it really does just come down to dice rolls, but you do get mitigation on dice, and sometimes it's just fun to enter into combat with a player, make them sweat, and then you have a card that just says, nah, we're not, and then you leave, and they're like, wait, what's happening? And so it has been a lot of fun every time that I've played it. And I'm looking forward to playing that one more, because I'm certain I will, because that one it's sitting outside. It's easy to pick up and grab and just put it in the bag and take it with me.
Well, that wasn't on my radar, but it is now, because I love my worker placement games.
Ooh, I think you'll like
Speaking of worker placement, my number 4 is Fromage. This is a Kickstarter game that, when I was listening to the interview from them, they weren't super confident that it was going to get a retail release, so I made sure that I Kickstarted it.
Fair.
Published by Road to Infamy Games. This is designed by Matthew O'Malley and Ben Rossett. They did the Search for Planet X and the Search for the Lost Species games that you like.
Yep, and they also did Between Two Cities.
Yep.
So yeah, they've got a few games.
Fromage is a worker placement that has a round board, but it's timer worker placement. When you put your cheese makers on the board, it depends on where they're pointing, because when you're done with your round, you rotate the board 90 degrees. And if your worker's looking directly back at you, they're coming back home. You can use them again.
Hooray!
So you need to plan accordingly. You can play up to 2 workers in your quadrant at a time. You can put it up in the resource gathering space, and then you can put one on the cheese making portion. Then if you've built a building that can use a worker, you can put a third over there, but that one will come right back to you. But if your workers are not looking at you when you rotate the board, they're staying out there until they look at you. So you have to pay attention on how many turns your worker is going to have to sit out there before you get them back. There's 3 types of cheese. There's hard yellow, there's soft white, and then there's blue cheese. And your 3 workers are tied to those 3 types of cheeses.
Yep.
So when you have a new quadrant come up and you're like, oh, the best placement is white cheese, the soft white, your soft white worker might be out there on another section of board just with their back to you.
Yeah, you're like, well,
fine,
good
be
show.
that way. I didn't want you for another 2 turns anyway.
I see how it is.
I like the timing mechanic. I like the different boards. One is area control. Another one is kind of basically set collection. You get more points if you're on different shelves. There's another one that's got adjacency, where you're trying to make the most adjacent cheese pieces to get points. And then, what was the 4th one? The fromagerie is the shelves. The festival is little snack plates where you're trying to connect
the tables.
those. Then there's the place where you have the map of France. What's the last one?
Well, don't you...
Oh, it's the pairings.
Yeah,
the pairings has the weirdest scoring.
It does.
And I like it, but I don't. But at the same time, if you can get your pairings just right, you can really hit some good points.
Yeah.
But really enjoyed it. Like the play. Like the turning of the board.
Yep.
That's Fromage for me. My number 4. Andrea, your number 4.
This was another card game. Apparently, I liked card games this year. Flip 7. We've just played the heck out of this game over and over, and there's always hooting and hollering and just really fun.
We should get Nick on the phone, see how he feels about this game.
The guy that can't not stop.
Yeah. So, in 21, when you get 21, you should stop. Instead of saying hit me, and you're like, no, you have it. And no, just give me another card. That's how Nick plays.
Yeah.
Flip 7.
And you have so many points. Yeah.
I'm not going to get over the fact that he busted on 2 twos. It's just, like, he that's something he deserved. Sorry, Nick.
So the premise of the game is the cards are numbered 1 through 12, and there are 2 2s, 4 4s, 12 12s. So you know when you're getting dealt cards what your chances are of getting another card. And you're trying to avoid duplicates, because if you get 2 10s, you bust, and you don't get any points. There are additional cards you can get, such as bonus 4 points or ×2 of your total score. Freeze, you can freeze another player so they can't get any more cards. There is flip 3, which means somebody's getting 3 cards right away. You can take it for yourself. You can play it on another player if you think they're close to busting. It's a very enjoyable social interaction game. Mm-hmm. The mechanics of the card game itself, very simple, much like, 21, where you're just trying to get as many points as you can. Yeah. But it's the interaction of, like you were saying, Nick, it's like, how can you bust on 2s? There's only 2 in the whole deck. He managed.
He did. Trust us, Nick will find a way.
But every time we've played it, even if it's with the more advanced gamers on our regularly game night or with your family at Christmas, we had a good time.
So that brings us to number 3. Mm-hmm. My number 3 is Rock Hard 1977. This is designed by Jackie Fox, published by DeVere Games. We love our DeVere games. That we already talked about the one that I did not care for earlier in the year.
Should not
but
be named
this is a thematic worker placement. I would say weight-wise right there with Lords of Waterdeep. Mm-hmm. So you have a member of a band that they're going out there and they're trying to make it in the music business. You play over the course 3 periods of a day. You have the morning time, you have the afternoon, evening, and then you have after hours. Each time a day you have different actions you can take. Mm-hmm. Like in the morning you can go and rehearse. You can go and you can go to a publicist. You can go to your manager and try and get your record deal. Mm-hmm. In the midday is when midday afternoon is when you go out and get your gigs, play shows, or play the specialty show. Might be a bar mitzvah. And then the after hours is when you hang out at the places that you maybe should or shouldn't be, and see if you can. Garner some experience and experiences. And then you have like 4 actions that are always available. You can donate blood. You can go get candy or sell candy. You can go write a song. Or you can go to bed early.
This game is not tongue-in-cheek at all.
No. I was playing and I had to go to rehab because of my candy addiction. And what taking candy does, it gives you extra energy so you can take another action on your turn. And if you take too much candy, you gotta go rehab. So I went to candy rehab, but it was the end of the game, and I needed 2 more turns to get all my actions in, and I needed more candy.
What was your first question getting out of rehab?
If I get out of rehab this turn, can I take more candy?
The answer is yes.
Yes, you sure can.
So in the morning is when rehab happens. As soon as you get out of rehab, you go to the afternoon.
And you can go give him more candy.
So guess who still had a little bit of candy left on her even after she got out of the rehab?
Insane.
It was. I just had it saved under my mattress.
That's wild. Unbelievable.
I mean, honestly, I could see how there could be expansions in the game. It's really good. I'm hoping that over time it doesn't, because there's the experiences. There's just tons of little tongue-in-cheek jokes and allusions towards something that other bands have done throughout time.
I'm sure there's one that will never come up, but we won't talk about that here.
But it's funny. The art is done very well. Yeah. The player track on who's first are guitar picks. I mean,
it's well done.
The money
well
is
thought
paper
out.
money, but it's dollar bills. They look like US dollars, but they're not.
Oh yeah.
And
But
some of
each
them,
one is different. They
some
have
of them-
different scribbles
yeah.
on them. And so
We're
usually where I poo-poo paper money, this one, each time I'm getting that paper money and flipping it over.
I was gonna be
See
like,
what's on
we're committing 2 felonies here.
you know,
But that was my number 3, Rock Hard 1977. Andrea, your number 3.
Boop the Halls. We have all 3 of the Boop games. Boop, the Halloween edition, and now Boop the Halls. The first 2, between Boop and Boop, the only addition was ghost kitties that float through your board and can scare your kitties away. In Boop the Halls, they have made it 3 layers, so it's gone up. It's like a pyramid-shaped board now. And they've added ornaments, and your opponent and you both put your ornaments on your little Christmas tree because it's kind of shaped like a Christmas tree. And a new way that you can win is to knock your opponent's ornaments off the tree. And once you've knocked all 3 ornaments off your opponent's, that's another way to win.
Yep. You have to knock them to your side.
Ooh,
Yes.
interesting. Okay.
So as the kitties are bapping it towards their side, you can put a big kitty to bap it off back to your side, and then the next round it'll reset.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's very cute. I like the little tongue in cheeks, the kitties bopping things off. It retained the same adult kitties, 3 adult kitties, 3 kittens. They're really cute. They're playing with little balls of yarn and little Christmas hats. Very similar mechanic that you can win with your 3 adult cats in a row. But I've enjoyed this edition.
Ben, your number 3.
My number 3, this one is going to be a deck builder, which I know some people are about, but this is Imperium Horizons, designed by Nigel Buckle and David Turtsey, and published by Osprey Games. Now, this one, it is a standalone, or we could call it a standalone expansion, because you could play it by itself, or if you're like me, you have classics and legends all in one box. This is a Civilization style deck building game where before the game begins you get to pick a civilization of your choice, and then through deck building and you're going to grow that civilization from a barbaric society to an empire. In each kind of the cards kind of telling the story of said civilization. Now, some of these civilizations aren't necessarily real. Like, we do have the Arthurians, the Atlanteans. We have a cultist civilization, and probably my favorite that I've yet to try, the Martian civilization, where in their thing is, instead of going from this, middling society to an empire, here comes this advanced technological society who just wants to blend into the background. So they start with all their stuff, and your goal is to get rid of it all. And so played this at multiple different player counts. I don't think I necessarily have a favorite, since I'm usually teaching it to new players, unless if it's just Craig and I usually keep it at 3 players at most, just for time purposes. But this is my number 1
Pretty
deck
interactive.
builder. Very interactive. And
I'd be willing to try it.
cool. And there's 2 kinds of interactivity depending on how you play. There is an aggressive style of gameplay where you are kind of attacking other players, taking resources. It's a much shorter game. Or there is the Trade Routes expansion that came with Horizons, which does lengthen the game by like an hour. So I generally just play with the aggressive because it does kind of help us to get in and get out. Still probably one of my favorite mechanics. There's multiple ways that the game can end, but my favorite way that I've only pulled off once is called the collapse ending. You have a stack of unrest cards that if you buy cards in a certain fashion, they come with unrest. Certain civilizations are also a little more equipped to give out unrest to the other players. But if the unrest stack were to ever run out, the game ends immediately because all of civilization has just collapsed. And everyone,
That's no bueno?
It's no bueno,
Okay.
but you count up all your cards, and whoever has the fewest unrest is actually the winner. Otherwise, if there is no collapse, we go to scoring. And each civilization has their own paths of like how you want to play, so it's a lot of fun kind of picking through and being like, well, here's how I want to do things this time. Like the Inuit, they have a summer-winter cycle. When they're going into the winter, they get fewer cards, but they get access to different cards. Then when you flip into the summer, you get a lot more cards, but you have to use different cards as well. So you're playing this balancing act within them. So this game brings it up to 30 civilizations in total, but this one got me to get rid of my Dominion collection.
Congratulations.
But yeah, this is easily my favorite deck builder, period. Just because I every time I play it, I get something different out of it, and there's just so much to do and try that I don't think I'll ever really get through it until the end of my lifespan. So,
all right.
Nice.
Number 2, Andrea, what is your number 2?
We just talked about it. Rock Hard 1977.
Hey.
Oh boy.
We really perhaps need to put this on our 10 for 10 for next year.
Yeah.
We've not had a bad play of this game.
Just give me an on that. I'll make you. No, I'm kidding. I won't.
Very enjoyable. Not just the gameplay is fun, but the interaction with the other players and the tongue-in-cheek jokes we all get a giggle out of. Very much enjoyed it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ben, your number 2.
My number 2. This was a game that I feel like people did not think would ever see the light of day in concept. This is Stefan Feld's Civolution. Another civilization game, which I think for people were kind of wondering how Stefan Feld would do a civilization game. And I think he hit the nail on the head with this one. This was, again, designed by Stefan Feld and published by Pegasus Spiele in the United States. Still very Feldy in terms of earning point salad.
Everything does points.
Like everything does points,
Which I love.
Yep, or gives you your path to do points. But the kicker to this, in terms of the action selection, is you start with 6 dice in the game, and you have a chance to get more. And you throughout the game you'll re-roll them, but you use pairs of dice to take your actions. There are, if I remember, 21 unique actions in the game. And that is dependent on the pairs of dice that you use. So if you want to grow out your population and expand out on the board, great, you have an action for that. If you want to go hunting and get food because, well, you need to feed your people, you can do that. There's so many different things, but I think the biggest thing that I've yet to kind of unlock with this game is you are building a tableau of cards above your board. Some of these cards just give you immediate resources or benefits, and that's it. But others kind of give you permanent alterations to the things that you can do. Like one thing that my civilization unlocked is we unlocked fishing. So if I ever went hunting next to any body of water, instead of using the hunting table for the land that I'm on, I get to just fish in the lake. But the thing is that I still lock up the land for hunting for other players in that round. So there's so many different things that you can do: building buildings, statues, getting on a boat. There's far more to explore with this game. And I didn't think it would immediately be on this list because it was the last game that I played of 2024. But it immediately shot up right to number 2. Granted, I think Marrakesh is still my favorite Feld.
Yeah.
Played it and I'm just like, man, I love that game. But Civolution, give me a few more plays and we might be having a different discussion.
Understood.
And you know what? It looks big. It takes up a lot of table space. But if you get people who've played it even at least once, that game is surprisingly snappy. Your actions, it's just take an action, go to the next player. You can move through the game rather quickly, under 2 hours.
Nice.
My number 2 is just as heavy. It's Flip 7.
Get Nick on the phone.
Flip 7 nearly made my number 1 just because of A, never had a bad play. B, so many people have played this and either A, gotten their own copy, or B, just laughed their heads off until they couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, we went over to my family, and they're usually behind the curve on most games I bring. I usually am the flavor person on the board games. But they already had 2 copies going. I'm like, oh. So I don't have the cool game.
Hang on. Yeah.
So I had to bring out something a little bit. I had to bring out.
So I had to bust out chicken.
I had to bring out Jam Sumo because I'm like, oh, you think you're cool? You're not Jam Sumo cool.
Someone insulted your in your insecurities.
My gamer securities. I'm like, wait, am I not the gamer anymore? No, Flip 7 is amazing. It is designed by Eric Olson. It is published by the Op, that used to be USA Oply. And they are stepping their games up in the quality of games that they're starting to carry. Yeah. Not necessarily in the weight, but I don't have to have a heavy game to be in my favorites.
No.
It's how much fun that I had.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of fun games with Chicken, but we also had some games that just went super quick and nobody cared. Yeah. So, even if Chicken was published this year, it wouldn't have been in my top 7. I like it a lot. Don't get me wrong. I like Chicken. But Flip 7... we played it at 3 and it was funny. We played it at 7. It was funny. I've played it with 2 decks and we played it at 10 and it was funny. So Flip 7, like Andrea alluded to, it's like 21. You keep on. Everybody gets a card to start the game, and then you come back around and the dealer asks you, "Do you want another card?" And it's a yes or a no.
Oh man!
If you say yes, you keep on going. There are point cards, there are action cards, and then there are adders. We call them adders. I think they have modifiers.
Yeah.
The modifiers give you extra points or double points. The action cards, like Andrea said, there's a freeze, there's a flip 3, and there's a second chance. The second chance helps you not bust.
Yeah.
But the number cards are what you want. Yeah. And if you ever duplicate a number card while dealing, that's when you bust. And you play until somebody hits the 200. Or you could play until somebody hits another number if you want to be arbitrary and play a longer game or a shorter game.
Yeah.
You can modify it as easily as you want to for length of game. Played it so much, had so much fun. Yeah. That is my number 2. That is Flip 7.
I think we're on to number 1.
We are on to number 1, and I've kind of gone both ways. Start player to find out who reveals their game first.
Bring it on. Oh, of course it's me.
Ben, then me, then Andrea. Ben, your number 1 is...
I have rigged all machines to make me first. My number 1, I don't think this should come as a surprise to anyone who knows me. My number 1 is Arcs. With a small caveat that I've yet to play the expansion for it. Again, this is one of the...
But it's a campaign expansion, right?
It is a campaign expansion, but the nice thing about the campaign is that it's only 3 games. And so it is a
Still, you've been going through a huge campaign with other people. Well, so if you already have a big campaign, it's hard to get another campaign show.
It really is, even if it's just 3 games. Arcs is the new design from Cole Worley and Leader Games. Very much anticipated in the gaming community overall. But I also think another highly divisive one because... this game uses trick-taking as your action selection. Granted, it changes a few things around, whereas most trick-takers are a must-follow basis. This one gives you plenty of options to do different things. But the main thing is that if you are able to follow somebody with a higher-ranked card, then you get all of your actions. But if you do anything else, you're really only getting 1 action. And that's kind of where it might be hit or miss with people. This is a highly tactical game because every time you are dealt your hand of cards, you kind of have to figure out what you're even going to do with them right then and there. Sure, that's going to change as things go on. But this is I would say a 4X light game. It's not nearly as heavy as like any of the actual 4Xs out there, like Eclipse or Twilight Imperium. This one kind of gives you a fairly straightforward path to victory of like the things that you want to chase after. But the other kicker is that from round to round, the players decide what's worth points. And so someone might say, well, collecting ships as trophies is points this round, and whoever has the most will earn those points for that. But if that isn't getting scored, you might be able to bank those you'll bank those ships into the next round. So it kind of gives you some agency on what you want to see scored. Also kind of paints targets on the back of your head if you are very clearly dominating in something and the players keep letting you score that thing. You're probably going to have people going after you to destroy your stuff. This game had seen a lot of changes through its inception and Kickstarter and to delivery. I think it's the best iteration he came down with. And as it said, the campaign expansion is an expansion. It used to be the central thing for the game. I'm glad they split it up because I think base arcs is very strong because you can play it in like 2.5 hours. You can actually get it done and be like, I felt like I played a 4X game. Yeah. Or, when you finally decide to do the expansion, things just kind of go cattywampus on you because now you have an empire that oversees everything. You could be a part of it, or you can defect from it. You can still fight other players while you're in the empire. You just have to do it away from them. So you might be like,
hey, Mir.
Yeah, like, hey, Empire ship, what's over there? I think there's a little bit of a fungus over there that we need to take care of. And it's just like, you and me. Like, Dad's out of the room.
Your base are belong to me.
Yeah. So that's so I'm looking forward to playing this one a lot because I think there is a good contingency of people in our group who do like this and have asked to play it. Like I've got Catherine and Brian asking me to play it. I think I've even had you guys ask me to play it at some point. And I am happy to do that. Friends like
Space, it's trick taking. It's something just different. You never. Yeah. I mean, so many trick takers came out in the last couple of years. On the heels of the crew. Yeah. And some of them came out, and you're like, okay, that's kind of cute. And then some of them, like,
I don't consider this game a trick taker. Like, that's the mechanic for choosing the actions, and that's it. That's kind of where I'm like, I don't view it as a trick taker. Like, sure, we could call it a 4X trick taker, but I think that kind of does it a disservice to say it's a trick taker. Trick taking is the action selection mechanism, and that's it.
Sure. But there's a lot of games that have a little bitty deck builder off to the side.
Yeah.
But it's something you can't ignore.
No, exactly. One of which we might talk about later if that's on my list.
My number one is Windmill Valley. This is designed by Danny Garcia, published by Board and Dice Games.
Oh, I knew we'd get back to Danny.
Yes. I love this game. We played it one time at 2-player, and then I've watched 2 more plays afterwards of other people. I enjoy watching people play it. I enjoy playing it. It's got enough to crunch that I think it's fantastic, and it's got the planning with so in Windmill Valley you are growing and planting tulips and selling tulips, but the way you take your actions is you have 2 cog wheels. One has 6 spaces, the other have 5, and as they rotate you get to pick between the 2. Eventually you might upgrade some of the wheel spaces to where you could get both, but the left wheel you start off with, there's like shipping, there's upgrading your board, there's going to the market, there's planting. On the right side, all has to do with opening and it's actually closing the floodplains and reducing the water.
You're irrigating your tulips.
Yep. Yeah. The floodplain, whenever you open it up, it will tell you how many spaces you get to rotate your wheel to take your action. So you need a plan on that. You also get points based on the rising levels of that. Yeah. But at a certain point, if the floodplain has too much flood to it, you can't do that. You have to start reducing. I just like everything about it. There's so much little decisions. There's little puzzles, and as many worker placements came out this year, and as many games I played, my favorite game isn't a worker placement this year. It's Danny Garcia.
Yeah, I think he's a designer to keep an eye out for because he's got
Barcelona was hot last year. Yep. This year was Diatoshi. This and it's like Necron System, which everybody said was like the third and was the weakest of the 3 he put out this year. Okay, but I still want to play it now.
Yeah, and of course Arborea from a couple years ago with Alley Cat Games. So I mean, I think he will be a designer that we might be talking about in the years to come.
Andrea, your number one to finish it off.
Once this game was announced, I don't pre-order a lot of stuff, but I was like ranting. I was like, how do I pre-order this game? It's Wyrmspan.
Yes, 3 for 3.
I loved Wingspan, and to find out that there was a dragon version coming out.
Oh yeah.
And Rick knows how I like my dragon stuff.
I was like, Andrea would not like this game at all.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Sure, why would she like this game? I love everything about it. All of the mechanics that you guys have already talked about. But I love the dragon cards. I mean, there's hatchling babies that need milk to be fed. And then there's big aggressive dragons and playful dragons. The art is amazing. The only thing that I think that the next expansion, and if you know somebody, have them call me, is that we could do an expansion, another row of learning to ride the dragons. Because you can entice them to come live in your cave, and then we can like saddle them up and start riding them.
I mean,
Dragon Rodeo.
Yeah.
I mean, Jamie's just up in St. Louis. We could just take a ride and just knock on his front door. I'm kidding.
Yeah, let's set that conference call up.
I mean,
so anyway,
and we are set to get an expansion, I think, in the first quarter of this year. So
okay,
something to
maybe.
keep an eye out for. Wyrmspan is a great game. I remember, I think your first play of it was when I brought it to Village Meeple.
Yeah.
And I was just like, of course, Andrew's
it was.
Gonna want to
Oh
play
yeah, I was
this
like,
game.
can I play 2, please?
So
yeah.
All right, those were our top 7 games we played in 2024. Ben, you're going to come back on episode 32.
What?
You're going to do the 7 questions of the 417 Gamer podcast.
No!
Because reasons. But until then, we'll see you next time. Goodbye!
Goodbye.
The 417 Gamer podcast is recorded and produced by Andrea and Rick Bagwell. The intro music we use, Kind, Gentle, Beautiful Person, and the outro music, Making Up for Last Time, was created by Origami Replica. For links to our show notes, music, and guest links, head over to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Hobby Gaming Network. Until next time, keep gaming in the 417.
Honorable mentions. Ben, did you have an honorable mention for your top 7 games of 2024?
Can I give a few?
Okay.
Does that be allowed?
Hey,
'Cause I
give
can
a
go,
couple.
I can go through quickly. I'll go through this one fast. Sand. I do like it.
How dare you?
I think I like those type
I think you like it
games.
just to spite me.
I that's definitely one of the reasons. But getting to play it multiple times, I realize what it's doing or what it wants to do. I found that once I played it more than a few times, though I don't even need to look at the rule book. The rules actually get out of the way, so no problems there. I've really come to like Sand as a pick up and deliver game. I've got better ones that we might talk about in the next episode, but we'll come on that. Another one on my list, this one is 3-in-1. I'm just going to say the Garfield Games releases of last year. That is the Shipwrights of the North Sea Redux. That is Ezra and Nehemiah, and then Inventors of the South Tigris. The only reason any of those games didn't make my top 7 was because I really only played them once. And so I do need a few more plays of them, but I think Ezra and Nehemiah would have been in my top 7 had I played it a few more times. And the last one, which you and I played quite recently, Rick, is SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence.
I'm surprised this wasn't in your top 7.
I know, but we then kind of discussed some of the reasons why it didn't, because then when I look at the things in my top 7, it's a thing that these games did not do. Now, granted, I like SETI a lot. I like the theme of it. I love the Terra Mystica style actions of like get all my resources at the top of the round and then spending them down. But my only issue with it comes to You have end of round goals that you can put your marker on, but you can only put your marker on them if you reach a certain 3 specific point thresholds. If somebody is falling behind on getting those points, then they're just going to fall further behind on the end of game bonus points. So it's a little harder for them to fight up if one player's doing extremely well. Now, of course, I know with our game, I had a really good game. There's no disputing that.
Yeah.
But like, would that have been balanced out if you were able to actually keep a little bit more pace with us in points in the first 3 rounds? I actually think so, because you would have, because I don't think you got first in any of our end of game goals, and that kind of that hinders a lot of points.
Yes, the one that was pairs of technologies.
Oh, you did get that one? Okay.
Yeah,
good,
I got first on that, but the issue was I treated it like a sandbox, like, hey, I can do whatever I want.
No, you can't.
And I put out like a probe to go out there, and you guys are like, I'm scanning. I'm like,
oh yeah.
And then I doubled down. I'm like, I'm gonna move my probe, and you're like, I'm scanning. I'm like, well, son of a bitch.
Kaylin and I had really strong scanning games.
Yes, you did.
Because and it was funny because Kaylin was like, oh,
hey,
like,
Kaylin, what you doing? You scanning tonight?
Well,
I'm scanning tonight.
He's like, yeah, you mentioned we didn't scan a whole lot in the last game. I was like, yeah, that is interesting. And then we just went the exact opposite route, and we cooked on those points.
Yeah, you did.
So like we had a really strong scanning game, but then I noticed that like, because I was doing that, I was lacking on getting probes onto planets, so I was missing out on those points. And of course, missing that I did land a probe somewhere and didn't score it at the end of the game. Oops. So that's...
But those deep Euro games, I come in knowing that I'm A, not going to win, B, there's a good chance I'm going to get my butt handed to me, but I want to learn the mechanics and come back. Yeah. And I want to play SETI again. Mm-hmm. But it's you got to get that first. It's like Trajan. If you play Trajan against people that know Trajan,
oh my gosh, yeah,
you're going to do nothing while they do everything.
Yeah.
And then by the time you get done with Trajan, you start being able to put together just enough of a strategy to like combo some stuff. I'm like, hey, I did the thing. And they're like, yeah, we were doing that turn 2. I'm like, yeah, but you could be proud of me.
Yeah. Yep. So that's the only reason why SETI didn't make the top 7.
Understood.
But I would love to see an expansion pack for this where they give you more aliens. I think 10 total combinations is not nearly enough. Let's pump those numbers up, baby. Thomas Hollick was the one who designed this game, and it was published by CGE, which last year's Kutnohora, huge hit for me. Love it still.
Yeah. And
I
like playing it. I don't want to run it, and I don't want to teach it. I still have
enough.
A shrink-wrapped copy, I think, somewhere over
yeah, I see
there.
It.
and we got it, and I was like, after we played it with you, I'm like, that's a fantastic game. I don't want to run that.
You just play my copy.
Yeah. It's like teaching Root. I don't want to teach Root.
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point where I like Root now. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to teach everybody the factions, especially if you start throwing some of the expansions.
Yep.
My honorable mention is going to be Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Andrea and I love the Seven Wonders Duel. Mm-hmm. And you throw the Lord of the Rings sheen over it, and it's really, really good.
It really is. Yeah. The best part, in my opinion, is the little track where the Nazgul are chasing
the ring bearers.
The ring bearers, and it's a little track where it's a sliding track where you're like inching forward and they're catching up, and it's really cute.
Is that like in place of the military track, I assume?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Kind of, yes. Yeah. Because it's that push-pull. But then there's an area majority map over here.
Oh my.
So there's an area majority map, there's that, and then you still have your set collection when you're trying to garner allies in the various races. Mm-hmm. The trees and the
Ents.
The Ents, yeah. The eagles, the elves, the humans.
Yeah.
What are the other ones?
The hobbits.
Yeah,
no, nobody wants to pair with the hobbitses.
Hey, they're important.
Well, it's sure.
They bring us important innovations like second breakfast.
Right. Did you know that was not in the book?
I would imagine.
Or screwing up everything until it's time you light the beacons. Andrea, do you have one honorable mention before we get out of here?
I do not.
Okay.
You have covered all of the games that I loved.
Fair enough.
Good.
All right. That's 417 Gamer Podcast.
Oh. Happy New Year.
That's true. Happy New Year.
Happy New
You
Year.
didn't even talk about SETIs.
Oh no.
Oh, before you do it, I'm changing my list.
Okay.
Good boy.
Something land in the berry range.
Yeah, rolled right in front of us. Oh, you just didn't even.
I'm a good boy.
I'm a good boy. Like hell you are.
All right, now I'm ready.
He's like, this one.